Hi everyone, thank you for having me. My name is Trenton Hoshiko and I'm calling in from Colorado. For Career Day, I'm going to tell you about being a documentary filmmaker and video producer. So let me share my screen here because I have a presentation. So has anybody here watched a movie, YouTube video, or sports game recently? I know that I have, and I imagine you have as well. But people don't always know that movies of all sizes, from big things that you see in a movie theater to things you see on Netflix to films you might see on YouTube, are made by filmmakers. And videos on the internet, whether it is an Instagram video or a YouTube video or a TikTok video, are made by video producers, sometimes called video creators. Chances are, if you have been watching a video that has told a story, taught a lesson, or was about a video game, a video producer was involved in making it. As a documentary filmmaker and video producer, I can work on many different types of films and videos, and while that sounds like one job, it's more like 10 jobs. Every day, I work on telling stories about characters, and that is a dream come true to me. I use a variety of skills to create things like documentary films, which are stories about real people's lives and experiences, ads that you might see online or on TV, YouTube videos, music videos, videos about a company's events or products, and narrative films, which tell the stories about fictional characters. I make these kinds of projects for both clients and my own projects at my company that we share with the world. Here's a clip from a documentary that I directed called Stories from Not Long Ago. It's available on YouTube if you're curious about it, where we had a local high school student interview Hughes Van Ellis, a survivor of the Tulsa Race Massacre. He was 101 years old when we filmed this.
What would you say to a young person like me who's about to set foot on their own path?
Be strong, believe in yourself. If you haven't got an education, go to school. Get an education. Good education. That's going to help you through life.
That project was incredibly special because we happened to have a chance to work with him before he passed away in 2023, sadly. I really liked his message of education for young people and his passion for sharing an important story. This was just a 20-second clip. The whole documentary is about 45 minutes long and also features Mr. Ed Dwight, who was the first Black astronaut. So, filmmaker is a general term that covers a lot of jobs that go into making a movie. Technically, it might cover hundreds of different jobs. My team is very small, so we have to do a lot of the jobs, individually. I do a lot of the jobs just by myself. And for this documentary, I had the responsibility of directing, meaning that I was making the decisions about how it would look and feel. Operating cameras, meaning I had to actually do the recording on a technical level. And I was one of several producers, which means I helped with planning when and where we were going to film the project. I also edited the project, meaning I took our 80 minutes or so of recorded interviews and selected the best parts, and that's what became the final documentary film. While my job is technically as a filmmaker, director, video producer, and video editor, as well as a business owner, I find most often my job is being a leader for my team and colleagues. It is the core of everything that I do for my work. And I'll get to that more in a moment. But in these photos, you can see on the left side, this is some people who were on set for the filming of Stories from Not Long Ago, and you can see some of our lighting equipment as well as the camera that's right there. On the right side, you can see me leaning in to direct our interviewer, Joshua, as he's having a conversation with Mr. Ed Dwight. I own my own company called Modern Record Media. We make documentary films and video productions. Owning your own business and not working for somebody else's business creates a lot of flexibility, especially in your schedule. But it's also challenging because it's your own business, and that means you have to manage all of it. This is a picture of my website and a bunch of projects we've made over the last several years. So where do I do my work? Well, film and video work is all about planning. You might spend months or even years planning a film, and then it could be over in a few days, or for certain scenes, over in a few minutes. This means you have to be very patient and very persistent. While you're planning a project, you usually work from an office. In my case, my business is very small and my team isn't all nearby me locally. So we work from home and do video calls. Working remotely is great because not only do I not have to commute, it is much more accessible for a disabled member of my team. And commuting is not very fun. I used to live in LA and I had a 7-mile commute that took me 90 minutes. So whenever I went to the office, it was a 3-hour round trip. Once the planning is done and filming starts, you get to go to what's called a film set. This is where I do interviews for documentaries or work with actors and scenes. A film set is usually a space that we rent or our client already has, and sometimes that could be a dedicated studio just for filming. For example, I have filmed a lot of cool video projects for my local school district. So in those cases, my film set is a school gymnasium or the principal's office. Here's some examples of a film set that I had for a documentary. You can see our lighting setup and a bunch of the various types of equipment that we use, and then 2 shots from the final interviews. There's a lady staying there, and behind her are some black curtains, and the cameras were actually behind those black curtains peeking out. That way our guests weren't so nervous, because it's definitely nerve-wracking to have a camera in your face when you're talking about personal things. In my average day, I use cameras, computers, editing software, writing software, and budgeting software to make sure our projects are all coming together. I work with a team of people to make these projects, although for long periods of time, I might be working all by myself on them as I get them started and ready to work with a team. Those team members can include actors in front of the camera operators to make sure we're having good footage of our scenes, sound recorders that make sure we can hear the speaker, editors that put together the footage into the final video or film, writers that help craft the stories as how they're being told, people that set up lights, drone pilots, production assistants that help everything run smoothly, from making sure everybody has a bottle of water to making sure people know where to park, and all sorts of those kinds of tasks. And then there's caterers that make sure that everybody has food when they're on set. And there's so many more jobs than that. Most of the time, I'm working as a director or a producer, and it's my job to be the leader of them. That means giving out tasks, and answering people's questions, making creative decisions, hiring people, and keeping everyone safe. So that brings me to the 2 biggest parts of my job, no matter what role I'm playing. From director to producer to editor, these are, in my opinion, some of the best parts. Number 1 is being a leader. This is very important, and I always say that everyone can be a leader. You don't have to be the boss to be the leader. You just have to lead. For example, safety is a big concern on a film set. They're basically construction sites. We have hundreds of pounds of expensive lights, cameras, and other equipment that can fall over or be damaged easily. The lights that we're using are often hot and can burn people. There are people that are, coming from all over, and there's a lot of them, and we don't want anybody to get sick. And we often are working long hours, sometimes 12 or 14-hour days. So when someone on my team sees something that they think is dangerous, that maybe we overlooked or just came up as a new situation, I want them to be a leader and bring it to me and the rest of the team so that we can all be safer. As a leader, I think it's maybe the most important thing for me to be able to listen to the people around me. They have been hired because of their skills. I need to make sure that I trust them and listen to their input. And continuing on that example, if someone tells me about something that they think is dangerous, I need to be a leader and I need to address it so that I can protect my whole team's health and safety. It's important to remember that leaders listen, and that both leadership and listening skills are always going to help you in any career, not just filmmaking. I'll get to that more in a minute. Some things that I think make a good leader are leading by example, taking care of others, communicating as clearly as you can, and being kind, fair, and patient with people around you. Number 2 is being a storyteller. Every day, I get to work towards telling stories. Sometimes that's the early part of the process. Sometimes that's finding a client, but all of them are in service of telling stories. For me, that mostly consists of documentary stories, so stories that are real people, sometimes sitting face to face with me, and they're trusting me to respect their words, experiences, and the story that they have to tell. If I'm working on a fictional story or commercial, I have a responsibility to tell the story as best as I can in a way that captures our audience's attention for whatever goals there are for the project. Being a storyteller is very rewarding for me personally, but it's also a challenge because of those responsibilities. And then you have to take the story from inside yourself and communicate it to your team so that you can work on it together and share it with the world. That's why I have talked about leadership first, because without leadership and a team of people that I can trust and that can trust me, the stories wouldn't be being told properly. Listening to people and trying to understand them is critical in storytelling, but extra critical in leadership. To me, being a leader always starts with non-judgmental listening. And when I'm a leader of a documentary project, I have the responsibility from the trust that my interview guests are giving me to tell their stories appropriately. This means that I have to listen carefully to what they say and what they mean. And if I have multiple people in a project that are bringing different perspectives, I have to listen to each and help balance and bring both of their voices into that story for my film. When working with the clients, they will have needs so they can meet their own goals. If a commercial client says they want me to show off their restaurant, they might have the best burgers in town, but if I go and I just film the parking lot, nobody's going to know about it, and I probably wasn't listening to their goals or their needs. And in turn, if their customers are seeing a video of a parking lot, no matter if they have the best burgers in town, they wanted to see what the food looked like, and I didn't show it to them. So I didn't listen to their needs either. I need to listen to feedback and suggestions from my team as well as my clients. And this is how we all effectively collaborate together. And finally, I need to listen to myself and my experience and my ideas. Those are important too. As an artist, sometimes it's very hard to trust your judgment, but with time, you learn to do it more and more. The challenges, the pace, and the pay. I must be honest with you, filmmaking and video production is not for everyone. For me, it's a collection of activities that I love, thankfully, because if I didn't love them, I probably wouldn't be doing it. But getting clients is very hard. Getting them to pay you well is even harder. Most of my documentary work is for nonprofit organizations. They don't often have huge budgets. Most of my commercial work is for small businesses that also often don't have huge budgets. In some cases, businesses want to make you work for as little money as possible, even when they have a big budget. So it's important in those cases to know when to not accept a job. Sometimes clients never pay you even if they owe you money. That's just as a fact of owning your own business, no matter what industry. And yes, it really sucks. And because of all of this, my work hours can be very inconsistent. I can have 3 months of working part-time or days where I'm working 14 hours on set. A friend of mine works in sports television and has to fly to different cities multiple times a week and then work a 12-hour day so that other people can watch sports at home. The inconsistent work is okay for my life because my partner works more than full-time, so I do a lot of the camera repair for our home and cooking our meals when I'm not working my job. Our family is able to balance that. Some filmmakers I know work in Hollywood and have projects that are 2 or 3 years long of them working on something without getting paid. And then their project gets canceled, so they never get paid. Others make one project that pays them $120,000 after 1 year of work, and that seems great. But then they don't get paid work for another 3 years, meaning that they're averaging about $30,000 per year, and most people can't afford to live like that. Additionally, filmmaking isn't very accessible. My business tries hard to be different and accommodate disabilities, but many jobs within the film industry and the video industry aren't very accessible, and that's a major problem. I really think that we should be working to change that, and I hope that our industry can grow to be better in the future. And for the question that everyone always wants to know, personally, and for my projects and clients, and this really depends on where you are in the country, what kinds of projects you're working on, the level of equipment that you have, and the level of project that it is, but I make between $15 and $150 an hour, depending on the project. But you have to remember that I do get less hours of work than most jobs, and I have to have the expenses of running my own business. I'm trying to be honest with you here because this is a punishing, exhausting, inaccessible, and expensive industry. But if you can find a place in it, big or small, you get to create stories and worlds that you share with others, and you get to create art that is valuable to you most of the time. And that's something that is really special if you're passionate about that. So how did I get started? Well, I made my first films in 5th grade at a summer camp that was hosted by CU Boulder. From there, I took those skills and started making animated short films and music videos as a hobby when I was in middle school. When I got to high school, I would gather all my friends up on the weekends and we'd make short films. My friends liked acting, so I would produce, direct, and be the camera operator. I'd often write the script, at least the basic form of the script, and my friends would have suggestions or add jokes and we'd work together on them. Most of these films fill a special place in my heart, but will maybe not see the light of day again because they aren't very good. And that's okay. I was learning and I was practicing, and that's what was important. Later in high school, I took a music technology class that had a video production unit. The teacher there became a mentor of mine. Talk to your teachers about ideas that you have, even if they're a little different or creative or something that is a little outside of the box. Oftentimes, those teachers will support you as best they can. I had that music teacher, my photography teacher, my leadership class teacher, and my English teacher all helping me towards my career. Around then, I started doing small projects where a company would maybe hire me to edit a short video or something along those lines. And that helped me start making connections within the community. At the same time, I kept trying to make projects for the school. One of the absolute coolest was when our school hosted the debate for a local political session. And my filmmaking friend and I got to interview the mayor, school board, district attorney, and even Senate candidates to help participate in the democratic process and keep our community more informed through these video interviews that we released online. By taking these early opportunities and seeking out mentors that could provide feedback, I was able to go to college with some of my skills already established. As for college, I looked at many different film schools, but I ended up going to one where I got a degree in video media arts. And I actually applied to 7 different colleges and was accepted to 5. Doing a good job in high school is also really important. I want to impress that upon you because some colleges will give you scholarships based on your grades or your extracurriculars or other achievements. 2 of those colleges offered me scholarships, and that was incredibly helpful with me going to college. And I want to be honest with you. Like I said, filmmaking is not for everyone, but neither is film school. It's oftentimes incredibly expensive, like prohibitively expensive overall. It is comparable to some of the most expensive degree programs, but unlike those, it doesn't pay nearly as well unless you're very successful. Film school programs are also shrinking now because the industry is shrinking. The costs are staying the same while the industry opportunities are reduced. But I have good news that film school is absolutely not required to be a filmmaker, especially when you're getting started. Just like other types of art, degrees are not required to be a photographer, a painter, a musician, etc. But studying a degree that you love is great. Just in most cases, what you've made says more to your potential employer than your degree in of itself. However, film school and college in general is a very good place to meet and work with other people to grow your skills, connections, and your portfolio. To be a filmmaker, all you have to do is make films. It is as simple as that. They could be short films, animated films, documentary films, experimental films, music videos, narratives. They could be feature length, whatever you can possibly create. They could be Instagram videos, YouTube videos, or TikToks. Any type of video can be a type of short film. And they don't have to be good. They don't have to make you money. They don't have to win awards, and they don't have to have any fancy equipment. If you want to be a filmmaker, in addition to whatever college degree or career that you choose, I'm here to say that you can do it. At least you can give it a shot. I know plenty of people who went to film school and don't directly work in filmmaking anymore. People who I made films with in college might not actually make films for their day job. They are teachers, professors, work in theater, are accounting administrators, and one is even a professional home organizer. Some of them still make films, and some of them don't. And that is how a lot of people, even names that you might see in the credits of big Hollywood films that you're watching in the theater, support themselves and pay their bills while having their passion for making movies. They have to have jobs outside of the industry to support themselves in between the projects that they're working on, filmmaking-wise. So if you want to be a successful filmmaker, whatever success means for you, try to bring these ideas into every day and they will help you grow, even though they can't guarantee success. And no matter what, these skills, I think, are something that could help anybody wanting to be an artist, or honestly, in many different career paths. Practice, practice, practice. Take time to be bad. I'm going to say it again because it's so important. Take time to be bad and to fail. to experiment, to learn and grow your skills surrounding your art or whatever you do. I try to learn new skills or practice old ones every single day. Do your best work. Always put your best foot forward, try hard, and persevere. Grow your skills so that you have work that you're proud of. That's the most important thing, in my opinion, because if somebody doesn't pay you, or you're not making enough money, or the project gets canceled, you should be proud of the work that you've put into it. Deliver your work on time. Timing is so critical. Making sure that when you have a client or a collaborator that's expecting something of you, that you get it done on time. No one likes having their work delayed because someone else didn't care enough. Communicate. Listen and discuss things with your collaborators. Ask them how they're doing. Tell them how you're doing. Even if you're not doing well or you're having a problem, you can work together to solve those problems. Lead. Like I said, everyone can be a leader. Everyone can stand up for what's right, and everyone can have an idea and gather other people around it to make it real. And finally, make connections with your peers and colleagues. Connections are how you get jobs. Whether you are working for another company or your own company, word of mouth and reputation are important. And most important of all is that you are a good person to work with and collaborate with. Be kind and fair to others. And if you have your own business, your clients will absolutely tell their connections that you did good work. So it's important to have their respect. To wrap up here, I have met so many cool and fascinating people because of my job. Seriously, it's awesome. That is something that I've always loved about it because I've always been interested in a million different topics and a million different careers. So through my work, I have been able to experience a little bit of other people's jobs and have learned from entrepreneurs, Microsoft executives, business leaders, rock bands, students, teachers, schools, immigrants, an astronaut, politicians, an Olympian, social workers, community activists, historians, and many other filmmakers who are also passionate about storytelling. Most of these people are leaders in their own right. They're trying to put together projects, or they're trying to make their community a better place. And I am lucky to have been able to learn from them and in my own way help them to their goals. The people I work with inspire me to always strive to be a better listener and a better leader, because no matter where my career takes me, those are skills that will be useful wherever I go. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you for listening to my presentation.